Father, I'd like to know how long you've been an exorcist for.
Since 1994. I was appointed exorcist by Bishop Madec in the Diocese of Fréjus-Toulon, France, until 2002, when my congregation called me to our mother house, and Cardinal Barbarin asked me to continue as an exorcist, case by case. In other words, I'm not a diocesan exorcist, but I can receive certain people who are orientated by the Archbishop.
And how does one become an exorcist? Is it a calling? How does it happen?
The bishop appoints and chooses priests from among his clergy to exercise this responsibility. In other words, it's a delegation, because this responsibility falls first of all to the bishop, who is the diocesan exorcist. But because he can't do everything and take care of everything, he delegates the jurisdiction for this ministry to certain priests.
So this is the first time this Marian festival has taken place. What do you think of this initiative?
I think it's very important for the people of God, because it's one of the desires of Jesus crucified, that we take Mary into our homes. And therefore, in the people of God, it is necessary to respond to this desire of Christ, to know Mary better, in order to take her into our homes, because it's a question of Jesus wanting to draw closer to us, to enter into intimate union with us, by having us enter into intimate union with Him through His mother. So it's very important to draw closer to Mary. It's really the key. Above all today, it's really the key to the Christian life. I think she's becoming more and more indispensable. And in the book of the Apocalypse, we are shown that she is crowned, which is what the dragon caricatures, the crown. It's because there's a mystery of divine government which today is confided to Mary. It's really amazing. The Father points us towards the Son by sending Him to us, and the Son points us towards Mary.
How can you live in peace despite all the surely numerous battles you must go through?
I'm protected by the prayer of the Church. I often say that there are Christians who pray and who get tired of praying because they don't feel like praying anymore. And I always say to them, but you don't realize that there are some people who are benefiting from your prayer. I benefit from the prayer of the whole Church. I know for sure because by myself I couldn't do it. And then it's also recommended to confide yourself to the prayer of contemplative religious sisters. So fortunately, in our religious family, we have the contemplative sisters who support me in prayer, and that's absolutely necessary.
Are there several exorcists within the community of St. John, or are you the only one?
No, there are several. Right now there are, apart from me, there are 2, 3, 4 other brothers who are exorcists.
What you said about hypersensitivity is extremely interesting, all the more so for the fact that it's very contemporary. It seems to be something praiseworthy, or that someone who's hypersensitive is someone amazingly kind or nice. And in fact, you've corrected us by saying that no, be careful, it's an open door to attack from the devil. Could you talk a little about that?
Yes, because hypersensitivity is in itself not bad when it's assumed by a spiritual life, which is even stronger. We have people in the Church who are great witnesses. I'm thinking of Pope John Paul II of Mother Teresa, who were hypersensitive, but without that being an open door to the devil, because they develop their spiritual life even more, so they were assuming this hypersensitivity. Sadly today, hypersensitivity is developing without the development of the spiritual life, and the psycho-spiritual guidance which I was talking about here does sadly estrange this development of the spiritual life, which means that we can't find a remedy for an overdeveloped sensitivity, because the psycho-spiritual domain is not a remedy for that. There's only the development of the spirit which is a remedy for that.
The development of the spirit? How does that happen? How can we develop the spirit in us?
One develops it by exercising the intelligence in presence to reality, by being present to reality all the time, refusing to dream, not giving oneself over to activities which favour the development of the imagination, for example drugs, television, everything which is image-based. You see, in an excessive way, of course. Especially a child. You see, at the beginning of childhood, the child doesn't exercise their intelligence because it isn't developed. They can't exercise it. The body has to be sufficiently developed for one to exercise the intelligence. And if at 4 or 5 years of age they start asking, what is that? Why? Then that's the emerging of the intelligence out of the imaginary. If the parents are exasperated by their children's questions and send them packing with their Game Boy or to the television to have some peace and quiet, then they provoke a frustration of the intelligence which favours the development of hypersensitivity. It's criminal. Freud talked about sexual suppression, but no one talks about intellectual suppression, yet it's much, much worse.
So what you're saying is completely revolutionary. It's not at all the spirit of things today. It's not fashionable. It's not what we want to hear. And at the same time, I think it's extremely important. Have you written any books about this kind of thing, for example, or written any works or essays?
Yes, because by being president of an international association, the IAD, International Association for Deliverance, we have sessions every 2 years where we bring together exorcists and priests in the Ministry of Deliverance to reflect theologically about these questions, and we publish the conferences from these sessions. So right now we have 5 books which can be found at Éditions Bénédictines at Saint-Benoît-du-Sault in France, or at Rimont in France, the theology student of the community of St. John, with various different themes, but always around the subject of exorcism, deliverance, and also the open doors, which I've developed a lot in this conference.